Hey everybody, welcome to Light Screen Action. I'm your host, Tiana Sirmans. Today, my special guest is a Fandango correspondent. You may have also seen her on E! News, The Today Show, Inside Edition, and way more, sharing her picks on must-see movies and shows. She has also done some acting and modeling. Please welcome Miss Nikki Novak. Hi, how are you today?
Hi, so good to see you. That was a great intro.
Thank you. I am so excited for this interview today. I've just learned so much from watching you on Fandango and other shows that you've done. You were just so amazing.
You're amazing. I love that you know what you want to do from such a young age and you're going after your dreams. I love that. It's so exciting to watch.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and it's so nice just getting to know that there's someone that I have so much in common with. Like we have the same goal to be like a correspondent. We're both film critics. I know that we both like Michael Jackson. I know we both like Pink.
Wait, you like Michael Jackson? You're too young to know Michael Jackson.
No, my mom had this from him. And so I basically took over it. Like one day I was just in her room and I took it. I'm like, it's mine now. But I think it's mine now. I think she gave it to me.
Can you moonwalk?
No, not really. But I saw this cool thing where you can like moonwalk in skates. So I do want to try that. Like when everything gets back open.
Yeah.
I want to try that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get right into it. You, as I was mentioning before, are a Fandango correspondent and a film critic. So how did you get started with that?
So I started out, like you said earlier, I was a model for a long time. And I think that really helped me in terms of getting comfortable in front of the camera. And the thing about modeling is when you're on camera and you're performing, you're a mime because you're not talking, but you're using your body language, your expressions to express yourself and express the mood. But then my modeling sort of led to me doing more commercials, and I was a spokesperson for a department store, and they really wanted someone who could be a good spokesperson for the brand, but also wear the clothes because it was for a department store. And from there, I lived all around the world, and then I moved to New York, and then I decided I was going to be an actress. And then I came out to LA, and I was acting for about 3 or 4 years. But as I was auditioning, I realized I would also audition for hosting jobs. And I realized that I would always book the hosting jobs. I didn't always book the acting jobs. And I felt very comfortable as a host, but I didn't always feel comfortable as an actress. And I think, as you know, you have to do what you love. And if you're passionate about something, it never feels like work. Hosting has never felt like work. It's always felt like fun every single day. And I ended up hosting for a company called Young Hollywood. That was my regular job for about 4 years. You obviously know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And then from there, Fandango found me and offered me a job. And so I've been doing that for about 4 years now. So it takes a long time. It takes a really long time, but it hasn't felt like that. It has just felt like fun.
And that's also how I started. I started out in modeling.
Yeah.
I did fashion shows, and then I took a class, and then now I'm here.
But don't you feel like that has made you comfortable in front of the camera? Because I think when you're hosting, especially when you're acting, but when you're hosting, you kind of have to forget the camera's there. Yeah. And just connect. And the more comfortable you are and the more time you spend in front of the camera, I think the more it just becomes second nature.
Yeah, the only difference is that you're basically telling the story from different ways.
Exactly. Yeah. No, exactly. As a host. And I think what I like about hosting is I don't actually really love to be the center of attention, even though I'm in a business where everybody sees you. I like sort of being the second in line. So as a host, when you're interviewing somebody, interviewing an actor or whoever you're interviewing, they're really the focal point. They're the center of attention, and you're there to shine a light on that person. And that's what I actually like doing. I'm very comfortable on camera, but I don't like all the focus to be on me. I prefer to give it to somebody else or just be good partners with somebody.
So what do you think makes a good film critic?
Well, I think the definition of a film critic has evolved. I think way back in the day with like Siskel and Ebert, it was, you know, critics were critics and people who watched movies were movie fans. And now there's YouTube and there's Twitter. And so a lot of people are film critics, whether it's a professional, their professional job, or whether it's something that they do as a hobby. So I think what makes a good film critic, first of all, you have to be very passionate about what you do. You have to love film. And you have to also be realistic. I think I have genres that I love. I have genres that I don't love as much, but you have to be open. Like when I first started with Fandango, they would send me on junkets a lot for horror movies, which I never used to like horror movies. I just avoided them. I didn't love them. I just didn't naturally gravitate towards them. And now I love them because I was open to something new. And I think you have to, I think, you know, it's a fine line. Like I said, the business has changed so much for critics that there's a lot of people now that say, oh, you know, my opinion is right, you're wrong. I think as a critic, for me, I don't say my opinion is the end all be all. What I try to do is provide my feedback for, you know, I try to be fair. And I don't like to trash things. That's not my style. Some people do. I tend to spend more time reviewing things that I like than trashing things that I don't like. But I think you also have to know your audience. Like, you know, if I'm reviewing an Avengers movie, it's different from if I'm reviewing, you have to think about who your audience is and who's watching.
Right. Yeah, that tends to be the thing. Like sometimes there's like movies that maybe you don't want to review, but then there's sometimes where it's like, okay, I don't want to review this, but I don't know. Maybe I go and watch the movie and I really like it.
Yeah. And yeah, I think you have to be open to it, but also you have to be fair and you have to be honest because, you know, I work with a lot of the studios and if they send me a movie and I'm screening it and I still have to be honest, even if I don't love it, but I try to focus on positive and I try to, like I said, if I'm going to choose to review movies, I'll usually choose the ones that I like rather than let's choose one that I don't like. I'll focus on the ones that I do.
There are a lot of great parts of just being correspondents and reporters and all that. Like my favorite part is I love getting to meet new people and learn new things about them. So what would you say is the best part about your job as a correspondent for you?
Oh my gosh. Choosing like my favorite part is so hard because there's so many different things. Like I think honestly, like the days that I'm on like a show, like let's say the Today Show, and I'm giving my choices for the upcoming movies, then I go, oh, that's my favorite part of my job. And then the next day, if I'm interviewing somebody, I'll go, no, I think I actually like interviewing people better. So I think for me, my favorite job is always the last one that I just did. And sometimes it's being surprised. Like I just did interviews for Bill and Ted, the Bill and Ted movie. And obviously, you know, Keanu Reeves is the biggest star of the cast. But I had so many fun conversations with so many of the other cast members. And I think that's what's nice about my job is like, you know, you meet these personalities behind the scenes. Like Anthony Carrigan is a perfect example. He is in that movie. He's on one of my favorite shows. It's Barry. And he was so sweet and so amazing. We just had such a lovely conversation. And then you just walk away and it's like, it's that human connection. And I think that's what I like about, I think as like actors, they connect through a character. And I like connecting as myself and connecting with the person across from me.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely know how you feel. Like right now, I just feel like such a connection between me and you.
Exactly. Well, I think you're amazing. So, and I think, you know, we have mutual respect and that's important. And we're also, you're very, you know what I'll say about you, you're very present. You really pay attention and you listen. You're a great listener, which is so important as a host.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So over the years, you have also done some acting inside films such as The Holiday and Any Given Sunday. So what's one film that you wished you were a part of from interviewing the cast?
Ooh, that's a good question. I've never been asked that before. Wow. I think the first one that came to mind, although I don't know what role I would have played, would be The Notebook.
Mm.
Have you seen The Notebook with Rachel? Yeah, with
No,
Rachel
I
McAdams.
haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
The Notebook would be a good one. I think I'm trying to think of like one that would be like a fun. You know what would have been fun is La La Land. That would have been a fun one because of the singing and the dancing and the era and the costumes. Yeah, I'll leave it at those two. What about you?
I think what I would have loved to be in, I actually have two. I think one would have probably been Black Panther because I think it was just a spiritual and fun movie. And then also, I was also thinking of when you were mentioning like all the singing stuff. I would have loved to be in a part of Hamilton. Like I am completely obsessed with Hamilton, and so I think I would have loved to be a part of that.
Okay, your answers were way better than mine. Those are two perfect casts and movies. And yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of a superhero movie, but yeah, Black Panther is a great one. Or like one of the Avengers movies, like Infinity War, Endgame, one of those. Yeah, for sure. And Hamilton, oh my gosh. Do you sing?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I tend to sing a lot around the house. Yeah, I really love singing. Um, yeah, I'm
So I
sorry.
interviewed Lin-Manuel Miranda when he did Mary Poppins. Your eyes just went like ding. And I don't really get nervous very often, but I was nervous to interview him because he's so good with language.
No.
He's so beautiful in the way he speaks. Nobody writes better tweets than he does. They're like poetry. And I just feel like there is something very spiritual about him,
Yeah.
something very deep about him. And when you meet him, he's very earnest. Like he doesn't try to do like turn it on like in a fake way for the camera. He's very just himself. And so, yeah, I was nervous interviewing him and he couldn't have been sweeter.
No. Yeah, I'm kind of jealous. Like, no,
No.
that seems so great. I think he really is an amazing person.
Yeah.
I actually was surprised to find out that he did some of the music inside Moana.
He did.
Yeah, I was very surprised to know that, but I felt like I heard his voice once during it. But he's just truly amazing, and I actually got to talk with Jasmine Cephas Jones from Hamilton.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's great.
Peggy Schuyler and Mariah Reynolds. And I just think the whole cast is just so magical.
Yeah, they are. They are. That's another movie I'd like to live inside is Moana. If I could live in an animated movie, that would be great.
Yeah.
Turn into an animated creature.
I know, that would be great.
Yeah.
Part of your job is to review and talk about some of the hottest movies and films for the season. So how do you come up with your list for that?
That's another great question. It depends on, like, for example, if I'm doing one for the Today Show, it's going to be a different list than if I'm doing one for this other show I used to be on, Collider, which is that's more like the superhero type movies, that kind of a genre, the more like Comic-Con type movies. Yeah, it's going to be different from like the Today Show. So I have to think about my audience. Like, number one, how many do they want? How many movies do they want me to recommend if I'm doing like a preview? And then from there, I think about the audience, like what are they going to appreciate? And then what I'll do is I'll already know about some, but part of my job is to know what's coming out, not necessarily like once it's already come out, it's too late. So I have to know what's coming up. So most of the time it's either the studios that I already know will send me screeners for things ahead of time, or I'll reach out to them if I see something that's coming up and I haven't received a screener for it. And sometimes you can see them and sometimes you can't. It's all different. And it used to be we would go to the theater and screen a movie. Now you have to get the links. But that's kind of how I come up with my list, is I do a lot of research, and that's the one thing, even if I'm interviewing somebody or doing interview or recommending movies, my big thing is I always want to know everything I can possibly know. I don't ever want somebody to ask me a question or say something back and I don't know what they're talking about. Like if I'm interviewing The Rock and he references something that he did 15 years ago, I want to be able to know already what he's talking about and have a comeback. I don't want to have to go, okay, next question. I want to know everything I can possibly know about him so that I can fully relax and just be present in the moment and have a conversation with him and know that I'm ready for anything.
Yeah.
So I over prepare. Homework is so important.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, that's just something really important, just knowing what the person was talking about. Like when you mentioned you doing Young Hollywood, I knew what you were talking about. And that also makes it better for you to like build the conversation around it if you know about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, so yeah, when I'm coming up with these movie lists, I not only will I watch the movie, but if there was a book associated with the movie, I'll try to, if there's time, I'll read the book, or I'll research every single one of the actors in it, the producers, the director, like just so you know everything you can possibly know. And then you're so prepared. And then when you're talking about something, you feel more comfortable than if you're, just memorize something.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. So let's talk a little bit about the whole magical movie experience. So how do you prepare to watch a movie and what is your perfect movie snack?
Great question. All your questions are amazing. Nobody's asked me this. So my favorite way to go into a movie, and it's hard these days, because these days we want to see the trailer, then we want to see the second trailer and the third trailer. We want to know everything we can before we go into a movie. My favorite way to go into a movie is not knowing anything about it. Because it's usually those experiences that I have the best time. And it's not always possible because a lot of times I do, like, let's say if I'm going to interview the cast the next day and I get the assignment that day, I have to read up as much as I can about the movie before I go see it if the screening is that night. But if I can, and I'm just going into a movie, just like at a festival or just watching it on my own, I like to not even watch a trailer. Because, when like somebody will tell you, oh, I saw this movie and it was so good, and they build your expectations and everybody tells you about it, and then you see it and you're like, I just think it's better just to not know as much about it. Now, when I go to the theater, when I used to go to the theater, LA theaters aren't reopened yet. I like to eat. So I like mixing sweet and salty. So popcorn is a must. A Diet Coke is a must. And then some kind of licorice, like I like Twizzlers. People in LA like Red Vines. I like Twizzlers. And then I like to have something chocolatey. So I like to kind of like just have like a bunch of different things and just dip in all the different snacks. I don't like just eating one thing. I got to have a whole variety. I'm like that when I order in restaurants too. Sometimes I order way too much and I just pick at everything and then I take it all home.
Yeah, I think one of the best parts besides watching the movie is definitely getting to see all the variety of snacks. And then like a lot of times, like if me and my mom went or something, we'll always make sure we get candy and popcorn and maybe some pretzels, nachos.
Oh, I like the big pretzels that they warm up. And I like theaters that serve, like my favorite theater in my town is one of those ones where the seats recline, and I'll bring a blanket and I'll put the blanket over myself, and then you can order food at your table, and I'll order like a burger and fries or something like that. I like to like really have a meal, or pizza or something like that is fun. But I see so many movies, if I did it every single time, it just wouldn't be good. So
Yeah, I can agree. I love the seats that recline.
Oh, those are the best. Those nice, like cushy ones. And then you get spoiled and then you don't want to go back to the regular seats, but
no.
Yeah.
Sometimes I even get upset when like the seats don't recline. I'm like, no.
I know. You get spoiled, right?
Exactly. So what would you say has been the highlight of your career so far?
Today, talking to you is a highlight. And I think one of the things I love is the traveling that I really miss, because when we go on movie junkets, I've gotten to go to Hong Kong, Paris, London, Hawaii, Mexico, Miami, New York. you get to go on these amazing junkets, and because there are so many people that do junkets, so many other journalists from different outlets, you tend to see the same people and over and over, and they become your friends. So it's like, don't tell anybody, but it's like a little mini vacation. But that's really fun. I love doing that. And then I really like building relationships with some of the actors that I interview. Like The Rock is a perfect example. I've interviewed him so many times now that when he sees me, he's like, hey, Nick, you know, like when they know you by name and they're happy to see you and they know that they know what your vibe is, so they trust you. I think building those relationships is really rewarding. And yeah, I think the further I go in, like there's always new highlights all the time, but I think, yeah, the people and the places.
Yeah. I can't believe that you've been to like so many places. Like literally, like when you do these things, like you just get to visit everywhere. Now, is there any place that you haven't visited that you would like to go?
I've always wanted to go, although I don't know if it's like a movie set location, but like Bora Bora. I've always wanted to go there. You know, those like any of those places that have like the little huts over the water,
Yeah.
you know, staying in a place like that. And I've never been on safari. I've always wanted to go to Africa. I've never been. I would love to go there. There's so many places. Like I don't know if you're the same, but travel is my favorite thing in the world. Like when I was modeling, that was another great opportunity to travel because you get shoots on these incredible locations. So I did travel all over the world. And I also lived all over the world. Like I lived in Paris for a year. I lived in Australia. Australia is one of the greatest places. I lived in Japan. And I think that too, when you work a lot in different countries, you work with the people in the country, you're not just going as a tourist. I think you learn about other cultures. It's such a great education in understanding people. And that's really what our business is people and understanding people. So yeah, it's that opportunity to really connect with people all over the world. That's so precious.
Yeah, it really is. I was going to say, like, aside from meeting new people and learning new things, that's another part that is just my favorite, and to travel and see a bunch of different things. Like, if we went to, like, New York or California, every time, aside from whatever I had to do, we would always make sure that we would look around.
Yeah, and that's important, too. Like, I know when I started, when I was modeling and I was away from home from a very young age, I know other models, like you tend to become friends with other models in that area. And I think it's like, you know, it can be very lonely. And like some of my friends would stay on the weekend and they would call their boyfriends back home. And I always took every opportunity. Like when I lived in Paris, every weekend I was going out to museums, I was taking in the culture, going to restaurants. And with junkets, like they're very quick. Like even though we get to go to all these great places, sometimes you fly to London, you go straight off the plane into the movie screening. You don't even get like check into your room. Then the next day you do your interviews, and then sometimes you leave the next day. So even though you're exhausted and jet lagged, I always try to make sure, like sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually like get into an Uber and I'll just say, okay, do you have like 2 hours? And we just go on a tour so I can see as many places as possible.
Wow. And that's really is the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Well, those were all my questions. Thank you so much for letting me interview today. I really wish it didn't have to end.
Oh my gosh, well, you are amazing. I cannot wait to follow your career and see all the amazing things you do. Your questions were great. Like you really asked me questions that people have never asked me before. So that's huge. That's good job. And you're so personable, and I think you're awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And so I just wanted to say, if anyone is looking for a junior film critic, let me know.
I will. Oh my gosh, I will. I will, totally. Don't you worry. I got you.
All right. Well, thank you so much again. This was truly amazing.
Thanks. I'll see you on the next one. Maybe I'll see you at a movie junket, hopefully soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Like there are so many different movies that I want to see, like Soul, and then the movie that Will Smith and Kevin Hart are doing, the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So maybe I'll see you at one of those.
Yeah, Soul looks amazing, by the way. I cannot wait to see that. And I heard it's really good.
Yeah, I just can't wait. Yes. But thank you again. And that's all for this episode of Light Screen Action. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.